Welcome to the YNTAAY Minis. Today we have our sign dimmed in honor of Carol Channing, who passed away on January 15th, just a couple of weeks ago. But today we're here commemorating her birthday on January 31st, 2019. She would have been 98 years old. And I've always been a big fan of Carol Channing since I was a little child. She would be on variety shows and whatnot. And I was like, who is that lady with the big eyes? And I love her book, Just Lucky, I guess. A memoir of sorts by Carol Channing. And it's a really telling book she told about her marriages and how she was reunited with a childhood I guess like a teenage first love, and they got married after all those years of being apart and other marriages. And one of my favorite things ever is this book, Diary of a Mad Playwright by James Kirkwood. And he had written this play called Legends, and it was about two aging actresses who were battling it out as they put on a play. Well, I mean, I think they're putting on a play. They're about to start a play, and they're sort of frenemies. And he cast Carol Channing and Mary Martin in the role. And it didn't go to Broadway, but it did tour the country. So the book is about what actually happened between him and these ladies, and it's a very funny book. Perilous Adventures on the Road with Mary Martin and Carol Channing is the subtitle. If anybody out there loves behind the scenes things about entertainment or show business and the theater, I highly recommend that book. And I also recommend Just Lucky, I guess, because they're both very well done. Now, you all know Carol Channing won the Tony back in the day for Hello Dolly, and I'm seeing Hello Dolly this week for the first time ever. Here she is as Dolly the matchmaker. I'm seeing it this week with Miss Betty Buckley. It was revived a couple of years ago on Broadway with Bette Midler, and it won her the Tony Award for leading actress. And Carol Channing also won the leading actress Tony, and I believe she also won a Lifetime Achievement Award. She's been nominated 4 times. And I just read a most fascinating fact with the Super Bowl coming up. Would you believe Carol Channing in 1970 became the first celebrity to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show? So she performed in 1970. Very interesting choice, Carol Channing, for at the Super Bowl halftime, and then with all those football fans watching. It's very good for them to learn about Carol Channing. Of course, she was a giant star, so who didn't know about her? And of course, the other day when I did my Betty White birthday tribute, I showed you pictures of Carol Channing and Betty White together over the years. I just loved Carol Channing. She just was somebody that when you saw her, she made you smile. But you know, besides the things that everybody knows about, I used to write a story, a continuing saga called Clarice Living Life, about a girl who wakes up under the giant mushroom sculpture in Central Park and has no memory, and she's taken in by a kindly old man. And people are always trying to kill Clarice. Well, I wrote Carol Channing into the story as a character since, you know, she's New York and the story was set in New York. So in honor of Carol Channing's 98th birthday, I would like to read a couple of scenes of when Carol Channing first appeared in Clarice. Oh, and by the way, here's the book cover that I had designed myself. There's Clarice, the 2 giants there. But look, here's Carol Channing right here on the cover. So, yes, She was so important a character that she made it onto the collage of all the other characters. Oh, look, that's crooked. So when she first appeared in chapter 25 of the story, and this is like the first 100 chapters, but Clarice and her friend Marietta and her new friend Chet are being chased by a killer named Nuri the Goon, and he works for the bad guys. He's like a henchman, hitman type. So they are escaping onto the roof of a hospital in New York City, and there's a hot air balloon up there where a little boy who's part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, his wish is to take a hot air balloon ride with Carol Channing. So, and they go to the roof and they're hiding out. The three who are being chased are hiding out in the basket of the balloon. So let's start there. Clarice, Marietta, and Chet quickly put on their surgical masks, then got down in the basket of the balloon. An older woman and a small child walked across the roof. The woman was holding the hand of a little bald-headed boy. They approached the balloon, the child's eyes wide with wonder and delight.
"See there, Jamie, just like you wanted. As soon as your parents and the photographers and doctors and nurses get up here, we'll go for a ride,"
said the woman, who bore an amazingly striking resemblance to Broadway legend Carol Channing. "My God, it's Carol Channing!" Chet exclaimed as he lifted his head above the top of the basket. Clarice and Marietta followed suit.
"Oh, you startled me. But yes, I am Carol Channing, and this is Jamie. His wish is to take an evening ride in a hot air balloon with me. Can you imagine? How sweet."
"I've seen Hello Dolly starring Carol Channing 14 times, Jamie enthused. Clarice, Chet, and Marietta greeted Jamie and Carol Channing, adding that they too enjoyed Miss Channing in Hello Dolly. Marietta was lying, however, and if truth were told, Clarice had no memory of whether or not she had ever seen Hello Dolly, be it on stage or screen.
"May I ask who you might be?"
Carol asked the three balloon stowaways. "We're the balloon crew," Marietta lied once again. Jamie then took Carol Channing by the hand and led her into the balloon's basket, much to the others' dismay. Their plans were not going as planned, not at all. Suddenly, the real balloon attendants began to file out of the stairwell, along with several security guards. Marietta instinctively fired up the balloon and dropped the sandbags. The balloon began to rise.
"Oh, my!"
Carol Channing gasped.
"I don't think we're supposed to leave yet. The photographers aren't even here."
"Hey, get out of there!" the true balloon operator screamed as he began to run across the roof. "Quick, cut the lines," Marietta ordered Chet, who did so with his pocket knife. "Come back," the men on the roof screamed, jumping for the dangling ropes. But it was too late. The balloon was already rising out of reach, flying up, up and away. In the next chapter, they're flying above the city, and Carol Channing says,
"Are you three really part of the balloon crew?"
Carol Channing asked as she, Jamie, Clarice, Chet, and Marietta continued to drift high above the hospital in the hot air balloon. Yes, of course we are," Marietta uttered, feeling badly the way things had turned out.
"Those men on the roof seem to think otherwise," said Carol. "And why are you wearing surgical masks?"
"Dust," Marietta answered. Clarice then lowered her mask. Her two friends quickly followed suit. "We're sorry, Miss Channing." Clarice spoke softly. "We're not really the balloon crew, but don't worry, Miss Channing. We mean you no harm. We just had to get out of the hospital as quickly as possible."
"Haven't you ever heard of a door?"
Carol Channing asked. "It's a long story," Marietta added, "but I assure you that we're going to land in a few minutes and everything will be okay. We didn't intend for the two of you to have to come along for the ride." "Are you kidding?" Jamie beamed. "This is great." It was an indeed breathtaking view of Central Park as the balloon floated along. Well, anyway, they end up crashing in a fountain in front of a hotel, and Carol Channing says,
I guess I can expect to read about myself in one of those trashy tabloid rags next week.
That's when they're helping her out of the balloon. And Jamie's like, it was fun. So Carol says,
thank goodness no one was hurt, but if truth be told, I haven't had this much excitement since I guest starred on the Love Boat Follies with Ethel Merman back in '82.
That was a true thing that she did. So they all apologize to her, and she decides to take Jamie back to the hospital. But she imparts these words to them.
I don't know what you kids are running from, but you seem like good people to me. Please be careful out there, and don't worry. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't see anyone's faces. You were wearing those surgical masks after all.
And she leaves with the child, and everybody's like, goodbye, Carol Channing and Jamie. Whenever Carol Channing would appear in the story, I always had fun doing readings for people and playing her, because I got to do that voice, even though doing Carol Channing sometimes hurts my throat. But it was all done in love, and I just loved working with her, even though she didn't know about it. So Carol Channing, we love you, and happy birthday in heaven. And we can't wait to see you perform on the other side one day. Well hopefully we'll not see it soon. But okay, goodbye.